Hello, my name is Xavier Prat Resina. I'm a faculty member here at UMR, and I'm going to introduce my colleague here.
My name is Jered Bright, Professor Bright, and I teach mathematics, and I'm another faculty member here.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about what students are going to encounter when they come to UMR, how to best perform, specifically about math. And we'll start with, since we have a faculty member in math here, we'll start with the general question. So why is math needed at UMR and in general in life?
Great question. Well, math is the most important subject, and I'm going to maintain that.
Yes.
But that aside, math, as we look nationally, math is actually falling in achievement from high school to college, and so we need to pay a little bit more attention to that and how we can best support students as they transition into their college careers and how they can best succeed in mathematics. Mathematics, it is the core of the STEM area, and our program is health sciences, but we, at least among faculty, we consider ourselves a STEM-based program. And so we need mathematics to really understand all elements of science that the students are going to experience here at UMR. So just as a general foundation, we need a strong math core in our students, and I think being in chemistry, I think you see it in a different light.
Right. We know there is a fear factor as they come in, right? There's a certain baggage as for that math fear, that and anxiety inducing. We really want to make sure that we reduce those barriers, that we minimize the fear, so that all our students, regardless of their background, they can succeed in our curriculum. What is the path and what type of assessment? What will students encounter as they come in at UMR? What is it that they need to go through?
Great question. And so likely parents and families have seen some communications from their admissions staff around the math assessment, and that's usually our first benchmark, just to understand, where are the students according to a nationally verified tool. It's called ALEX PPL, to really understand, how are they going to do in their math potentially at UMR. And so we ask students, all incoming students, to take that assessment, and they get a score out of that, which they use in conversation with their student success coach during the summer when they meet with them for new Raptor advising and registration days. With their coach, they take that score into consideration, along with everything else that they've completed in math so far, including prior credit, prior learning, and just their general attitudes. I know you mentioned math anxiety factor. That's actually that's a factor in this conversation too. And so all that's taken into consideration for deciding which math course a student would take in their fall semester.
And how do you think, so right now, we're still a few months before we start seeing them coming in. Should they be preparing, doing anything? Is there any kind of self-assessment that students or their loved ones can help them, lowering barriers, getting themselves into math mode as they come in?
Great question. So my obvious answer would be do more math more frequently, but I don't know how realistic that is for many students and families, considering there's so many things to pay attention to. I think that if that is not possible, just having an open mind and being willing to say, I've had some prior experiences in math that have been good, bad, or otherwise, right? And kind of figuring out, how can I adapt and respond to those, having those conversations, being ready for difficult moments to pop up, and figuring out how can I navigate through those. And also know that here at UMR, we have a ton of people who are invested in their success, and we want to see you succeed.
Right. And I think that's my segue, because I also want to talk about the math in our chemistry courses. We have designed the chemistry curriculum so that students do not have to encounter that math is not the problem for understanding their chemistry. There's inevitably a quantitative aspect to all sciences, but they don't have to be in the forefront, right? So there is many ways of understanding math. And I would say, for example, being able to interpret a graph or a table, using words to interpret a relationship between two variables, right? Not everything has to be the solving for x, or all the different derivations that you may see in a more regular math course. So we are fully aware of that probably the fear factor that comes with it. So we want to make sure that we can uplift our students so that it's not just forefronted, that it's a lot of barriers for them. By any means, no weed out aspects to it.
And Xavier, you mentioned something in there too, that your beginning chemistry course has more quantitative reasoning aspects into it. And I kind of wanted to mention too, the pathway that students can follow with math or quantitative reasoning here at UMR is a little varied. So students can elect to continue in a traditional math track where it might look like pre-calculus, pre-calculus 2, or trigonometry, calculus, etc. Or to address more of that quantitative reasoning aspect, the students are required to take a statistics course here, and so they could maybe take that path alongside maybe doing some extra math preparation in a pre-calculus foundations course. So there's a variety of options. For
so even math has different languages, and not all of them have to be the abstract algebraic representations of quantitative relationships.
Exactly. And knowing that we are a health science school, we try and tailor our instruction as much as possible to that application base, so that students understand there's a reason for what they're learning.
So I do remember in the back of my mind, there's many exercises that we make our students go through. The typical, well, you ingest the drug at the beginning in your bloodstream, it'll go up and then it'll slowly will go down, right? So to be able to describe that relationship quantitatively, but also with words and graphically, it isn't a fundamental aspect of math. So that is also in our curriculum. What resources you think would help parents and family members and students before coming to UMR and once they're here? Let's first talk about before coming here.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think having a strong foundation is critical, and so that may or may not be, able to be rectified in the time before the semester begins. I would also say having a strong support community, just have people check in on you and say, how's that math class doing? People who are aware of what you're doing in your studies and being able to check in on you and offer support, or at least, have some ideas on how to troubleshoot some things. I think that is all important, for sure, before they arrive at UMR. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. So I think that there's a component of self-awareness that sometimes grades do not reflect. Like maybe you have not a very high grade on math, but you feel confident about it, or you have a positive attitude, or the opposite, right? You've been carrying a very high GPA, but you feel in the back of your mind that there's something off, right? So that component of self-assessment, I think it's important. I myself sometimes go back to a AI chatbot, and I like to assess my knowledge on this, ask me questions about it. Right? That's a humble step, but it's something that it's inevitable. You don't have to tell anyone, but if you want to start self-assessing, do I remember my middle school math, right? Or things that, not because it's in your transcript means that it's done and done, right? So that is something that I would encourage students to start self-assessing, right? That's not easy, but it's a fundamental step of learning.
And even with that, I think if they know other college students, right, they can ask them, like, how was your first year? Understanding that experience a little bit more could be helpful as well.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that, but our classrooms really have our students facing each other, right? And they do talk to each other, so that the imposter syndrome is not there, because you realize that if you're struggling, probably the person next to you is also, so you can talk about it, you can build a relationship through it. And that kind of builds the idea that it's okay to not know things the first time around, to work together through a common goal. That is something that I think it's humbling. It's not easy, but we definitely like to facilitate the space and the coordination of faculty to do that.
Speaking of space, you mentioned, you kind of segued into the classroom.
Yeah.
What does your classroom look like?
Right. So it's not, as much as I like to talk, it is not about me, delivering a lecture for 50 minutes. And if you've seen the classrooms, we do have students facing each other. So I maybe introduce a topic, 5-10 minutes of me talking, that's enough. That's as much of attention span there is. It's not for adults and children, so it doesn't matter your walk of life. But 10 minutes talk, and then let's jump into a question. Let's jump into an exercise. And then I walk around. We do have 2 faculty, 2 teaching assistants to make sure that people are comfortable with the struggle of not knowing how to solve it. So we really want to make it common, and the struggle, the idea, that doesn't make any sense, let me ask a question. That doesn't make any sense, let me see if I can help this other person, right? So this idea of messiness through the struggle and really achieving our goals is I think the best pathway to learn, and a communal learning as well, right? Because it's not enough for one person to know it. It's important that if you can explain it to others, it's also a fundamental component of learning. That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. I mean, as I hear you describe that, I think like, oh, there's so many commonalities with how my class is set up, and I think smaller classes, or at least a small student to teacher ratio, and I too like to get students up, like actually physically standing up at a wall, writing on the wall, because we all have whiteboards.
Not in front of everyone, right?
No,
all of them.
Correct.
All of them. So
all of them.
we don't like to single out,
correct,
or ridicule or anything.
But then standing gets people moving, and it's more likely that people are moving and talking and interacting. So hopefully that collaboration piece is brought out.
And we get to know them very well, know them by name, of course. But so we try to really make it comfortable that that learning is a process, and rarely someone will get things right away, right? That process is sometimes bumpy.
And in terms of like technology, like in the room, like I actually don't use computers or anything that much, because I really value the interaction between people, right?
Yes.
And so how does that look like in your class?
So it's a moving target, right? Because at the beginning, I guess I'm old enough that there were no tablets, and now many students come with tablets, but because at least learning chemistry, it is not only selecting one answer out of a multiple choice. It's drawing a graph, drawing a molecule, writing an explanation, so sometimes calculating as well. But it is messy. It's something that maybe the keyboard, for sure the keyboard cannot it is not sufficient. So we always have a paper version for students who like to go paper, but we also inevitably offer a digital version for students who either need or prefer that digital. But definitely there's a lot of free form drawing, and because it's not only about getting it's answer B. No, it's can we explain it? Can you draw it? Etc.
And I think a common assumption, at least in my classroom with technology, is that we use a calculator, right?
Yeah.
And certainly we allow scientific calculators to be used, but actually we don't use graphing calculators that much in our courses, because we want the students to be able to produce them, and thinking about like, this is the behavior of what it looks like, this is how this is what happens over time, to prepare them more for those quantitative reasoning courses, right? So they don't actually need a graphing calculator. That's a common misconception. So a scientific calculator gets them through, and in fact, I would say rarely do we actually need it. Many of the exercises we design for students just to be able to do them symbolically and be done.
It's actually something that I know some students are used to the specific answer, but some of our questions is, if you have, I don't know, 1 pound of atoms of carbon, how many atoms of carbon is that? Is that a lot? Is that a little? Can you give me an approximate? That whole idea of sense of numbers is something that we really want to instill, and actually calculators get in the way of that full understanding of the quantitative reasoning that we want. What would be a good study habit that you would recommend? And also, it's not only for students, but also for the community. That's why we're here, right? To help to communicate to the community around the student, what would be the message for study habits?
Yeah, there was a common saying from a mentor of mine that math is not a spectator sport. So you need to get your hands dirty, you need to get into it and do it, right? So I think the number one thing that I always recommend to students is make a study plan that has math happening frequently over multiple days, or frequently in terms of number of days and the kind of frequency of time, or length of time, I should say, in the course of the day. So I think that's the number one thing, is to allocate time, make sure that we're
Have a
allocating
routine.
time. Yep.
Yep.
And then also think about what is happening during that time. If, again, math is not a spectator sport, so you can't really learn it by just seeing it. You have to do it. So making sure that the time that you're spending studying is doing math, right? So are you doing the homework? Are you getting extra practice? Are you, you're maybe still confused about topic X. Are you going and asking for more clarification on that? You're taking an active role in your learning. I think that's my number one tip I could give for, families of our students is just to make sure that they're making study habits.
Something that I also heard from a student, we learn a lot from students. One student said, keep practicing not until you get it right, but until you cannot get it wrong.
And I know that student that
I
said
know,
that.
right? That
Yep.
was a very wise. So because there is a component of math, and I would say also in chemistry, that is almost muscle memory, right? There are some mechanical steps that are necessary steps before you actually solve the problem, right? So it's something that you need to do over and over again, so that then when a real hard problem comes in, you can rely on a good base, a good training base, right? Yeah. And I think that really switches the responsibility from the professor to the student, right? So we're not asking you to just solve this question. Just again, going back to the self-assessment. Can you even visualize it? Have you learned it enough that you cannot get it wrong, right? Because there's some fundamental aspects upon which it relies the many other more complicated problems. So I really like that sentence.
Yeah, and I know that student that made that comment, and I think back to how much hard work that student put in. And
it's not easy, right?
No, it takes a lot of time and investment,
Right.
and sometimes you have to acknowledge, like, yeah, I don't have it, and I need to...
Probably put your phone on focus.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yep. And just making sure that you have time to maybe review those basic number facts, like 3 times 5 is 15, right?
Yeah.
That should almost be automatic the moment you say you shouldn't have to reach for a calculator or reach
Right.
for a phone, right?
Right.
So having some of those, having time and time to make sure that those things are concrete.
Yeah,
I think is really
and I would say
helpful.
something that at UMR we like to, I'm very proud of that, the space and the structure of faculty availability and the structure of our classrooms leads, I believe, to those good study habits. Because, for example, trying to teach one thing to someone else, you may not know, you may think, well, why should I be teaching? I'm done, right? But trying to see how someone else is learning or what other struggles, that helps you as well, right? So learning with other people, it's a fundamental study habit, I would say. Because it can make sense in your head, but if you try to explain it to someone else and you cannot, I would say there's something missing. So learning is messy, so if you can gain the study habit of sharing your struggles, but also sharing your victories with other people, how you learn, it's also a very good study habit and definitely a path for success.
Yeah, and speaking of sharing where you're at and sharing your learning, right? I think you mentioned peers. I think that's an incredible resource that students always are easily tap into here at UMR, but equally as valuable is, going to the faculty and just saying, okay, I'm confused about topic X, and can you just help me with it, or can you give me more clarification on it, or a sample problem, can we talk more about it? And I think that's, at least for me, I really cherish those conversations with students, even if it is like, okay, we got to start at square one, and that's where we're at, and we will build you up.
Yep.
And so we like to help students no matter where they are.
Yeah. Sometimes we do have what we call UAs, so teaching assistants, students who are still at UMR, but they maybe were in that same course a year ago, 2 years ago. It's good for our students to see that, a year ago I'll be that person. A year from now I'll be that person. But also for our teaching assistants, again, it's a great experience to be able to teach as they prepare for other exams in the future, right? It's great for them also to have the experience of, can you explain it in front of a crowd, right? That is also a very good opportunity for our students.
Yep, I agree. And then I think just otherwise, like ongoing conversations at UMR about other mechanisms that could be popping up.
Yeah.
So students are usually the first to know before faculty sometimes of how, like other ways in which they can be successful. So
yeah, I think if I were to choose one thing for the study habit, the number one skill, it's asking for help. It is by far the attitude that will take you further, because you need to gather some strength. It's not the easiest thing. It's very humbling. Say, I don't understand this, I need help. But you'll get to know the faculty member, and we will get to know you. That self-assessment, right? The coming to terms and say, this is not going well, someone needs to help me. It is a huge step, not easy. And it's actually, we know that high-performing students are the ones who ask for help the most. And I think it's because they have that self-assessment. So please, if you can, make students ask for help.
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the conversation,
Sure.
Xavier.
Hopefully this is somewhat useful. And we're not going anywhere, so we can keep talking about this with everyone, with students, parents, or anyone who asks us.